Hello, my name is Rich Howard, owner of Architectural Builder Supply, and this video is to bring you a closer look at the 2990-603 from Bommer. What is a 2990? Well, it is a half surface, adjustable tension, button tip, steel-based screen door hinge. That's the 2990. The 603, that means two things. It means, first of all, that this is made of it's made of steel in a zinc plated finish, which is great for corrosion resistance. We'll give you a chrome sort of look, but zinc plating is going to be something you'd want for an exterior application where you expect there to be a moisture component to the installation. Now, 2990 means half surface. What does that mean? That means that one leaf is attached to the frame normally in the rabbet, but the other leaf is attached to the surface of the door. How do you differentiate? Full surface, full mortise, half surface, half mortise. With the half surface or the half mortise, the important thing to know is that word, surface or mortise, is referring to the door. So if you have a half surface hinge, you know that the hinge on the door is the surface mounted leaf, and the other leaf is the standard sort of installation, which is typically to the rabbet or to the edge of the door. So a half surface means that the door leaf is surface mounted. So in the example that we're looking at here with the tension collar pointed towards the top, the door would occupy this space and swing out to you like this. So from your perspective, it's a right hand reverse. From my perspective, it's simply a left hand, but probably going to swing out. So we're going to call that a right hand reverse, where we're going to pull the door out towards us. This leaf is quite thin. It'd be appropriate to mortise that to the jamb naturally, but certainly not exclusively. Typically there's so much gap between a storm door and its jamb that mortising the leaf becomes an exercise in just mortising. So they're very commonly surface mounted. Now there is a link below this video to a document called Template, which will give you all the important dimensional properties. Really, the height of the leaf is 2 3/4. That's inferred. You have an overall height of 3 3/8 with the button tips. Now you can do a hinge with a loose pin that doesn't have a button tip, and all of those part numbers, quite frankly, can be reviewed from the link below this video to the manufacturer's page, where you can pull up the full line catalog and then get down to that section of them, both adjustable, non-adjustable. The 2990 is an adjustable spring tension. We'll talk about that in a moment. What's handy about the template is if you're replacing existing, you can look at all those dimensions. Where are the screw holes? What is the leaf dimension when it's in this sort of application? This happens to be just under 1 1/8. Where is the placement of the center line to the screw hole? That can all be reviewed there. Okay, so if you're doing a new installation, that may be important to you only so that you can understand beforehand how large is this hinge. An existing installation, you can review prior to the installation process. Now, we talked about its half surface. It's non-handed. This can be installed either way. That's not a problem. That tension collar can be pointed up or down. In the description, it calls it to be an adjustable collar, adjustable tension. You'll get a tension rod with every order, at least. You'll get one tension pin with every hinge, at least. You'll insert, once the door is hung, get the door in place, shim it so it's exactly where you want it. Test the placement of the hinges. Get the hinges marked on the jamb. Remove the door, get the hinges marked on the jamb once you're pretty convinced it's in the right place. Get the hinge applied onto the jamb. Get the door in place. Get the hinge leaf swung over. Shim it in place so it doesn't move and exactly where you want it. Mark those holes. Pull your hinges back. Pre-drill. Put it all back together and install your screws. Speaking of which, they are obviously included in a complimentary finish. Get the door hung. The last thing to do is to set the tension. So the hinge will probably come from the factory with some tension set. That's just normally how I see it. When the tension collar is pointed towards the top of the door, reverse these instructions if it's the opposite hand. Insert the tension rod and turn it clockwise. That will reveal new additional holes and thereby setting tension onto the spring, allowing you to insert the tension pin into one of those newly revealed holes. And as you do that, and release, it now has tension. Okay, I'm a fan of the adjustable tension hinges from Bommer rather than the non-adjustable. Why? Well, I like control over the door slamming or not slamming. I like to be able to tailor that over the lifespan of the installation or the seasonal changes that may occur. The guideline below this video states 50-pound maximum when you're using 3 hinges. If you've got maybe a 30-pound door, 2 hinges will probably be quite adequate. I'm a fan of all spring hinges, not for the obvious reason, but I'm a much bigger fan of controlling the door. Springs, in my opinion, provide no control over a door, but they're a necessary sort of piece of hardware, regardless of where they're being used. It's probably because there's not a good option. Hydraulic control, where you can really control the sweep cycle or the sweep range and the latch range of a door opening and closing, is unrealistic in a lot of applications. So spring hinges are used, whether it's a condo entrance in a building where you're not going to install door closers on the inside of someone's home. Spring hinges will get that job done. Even on stairwells, where really what needs to happen is the door needs to close. In a lot of those instances, you're dealing with a fire-rated door. And the ability to have more spring hinges gives you additional control. I liken it to a tugboat. They don't go very fast, but they can pull a lot of weight. Having more spring hinges is like that scenario in the sense that you have the potential for a greater quantity of stored energy in the spring when you've got a greater quantity of hinges, allowing you to better tailor the cycle, the closing cycle of the door, so that you're not slamming but getting it closed. A storm door, probably not the end of the world. If it's a fire-rated door, now that's a different scenario. There's 2 obligations for a fire-rated door. It must be self-latching, means it has to positively and mechanically latch into the jamb, but it has to be self-closing. And if that is violated, you don't have a fire-rated door. Overthinking it, obviously, for a storm door, but the principle remains the same. They're relatively inexpensive anyway. But if 2 has worked, let's say, for the last 20 years, you're going to go with 2. That's all there is to it. Don't put more when it's unnecessary. Put more if you're truly unsure, knowing that the benefit there is that you've got additional resources. This hinge is available in several finishes. I'll try to state them from memory. 600 is prime coat. 601 is black, bright black japanned. 603 is zinc plated. 632 is satin brass. 632 is polished brass. 633 is satin brass. 639 is satin bronze. 640 is oil rub bronze. 646 satin nickel. 651 polished chrome. 652 satin chrome. So you can do it in lots of finishes. There's generally a lead time involved on these because a lot of the time they're either well below the order minimum for Bommer to drop ship, or we don't stock it, or they're literally just made to order in the finish that you want. If you want this in a 639 satin bronze finish, there's going to be a lead time involved. That's generally the case. So reach out to us if there's any confusion about what the exact lead time is prior to ordering. I had referred to earlier the link below this video to the manufacturer's page where you can pull up the full line catalog. The name Bommer is synonymous with spring-loaded hinges, really more so just from brand recognition of that double-acting spring hinge, their 3029 series that you'll see in restaurant applications from the kitchen to the serving area, the dining area. You'll see those all the time. But a lot more than that when it comes to hinges, a full comprehensive offering of commercial hinges as well, very high quality. They get into lavatory hardware, and there's also their link to their postal specialty catalog as well, mailboxes. So there's a Bommer logo on there. What this hinge lacks is the full Bommer logo that says Made in USA. That's a fact that Bommer's quite proud of, and it's lacking because they don't probably have the room to stamp it on there. But this is a domestically manufactured hinge, even down to the steel where they're sourcing it from. Fact that Bommer is quite proud of, as am I to represent them. If you have any questions on the Bommer, number 2920-603, 2 3/4 inch height, screen door, spring hinge, half surface, steel-based, adjustable tension, button tip, zinc-plated hinge, or any other Bommer product, please feel free to reach out to us. Thank you.